Hello, chat. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to another Ninja Gato interview. Today I have a very special guest. It is my Unity dev friend, Rene right here. Rene. Hello, 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 hello.
I thought you did Unreal.
Hello. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a wonderful weekend. We're currently in the part of the year where we actually get spring and sun. So it's just been nice. It's been nice.
Hey, do you have springtime?
Yeah, it's March.
It's March. Oh, bro, I'm like, it's still frozen where I'm at.
No,
We still have snow
I'm
on the
sorry.
ground. We still have
If
snow
it
on the
makes you
ground.
feel better, I think they've been predicting that next week, the week we're coming into, we'll get back to like negative degrees. So if it makes you feel better, I might be having it worse next week.
Yikes. Yikes. Oh, very cool. So, I know you as my Unity friend. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. I have been streaming today because I wanted to play Monster Hunter, and I can now play high rank. I have no idea what that actually entails. I just know that everybody I've been talking to, they're like, "Oh, you got to get past the credits, otherwise you're just bumming around in Lowtown." So I'm past that now, and I'm good. So yeah, and I've been looking
Nice.
forward to this interview.
Nice.
It's been I've been thinking a lot about it.
All right. Let me shout you out. You have my stream open by chance?
Yes.
All right, so
I have so many windows and tabs and notes open, so I'm so good.
I'm going to shout you out, and I have a shout out module that's going to play a random clip from your channel, and you're going to have to give me more context on what we see as far as in this shout out clip. So here we go.
This is gonna be such a random gotcha pull. Isn't it weird that I'm straight? No, that one's good.
Is it weird that I'm straight with Cloud dancing with somebody else?
Listen, okay. So I love Final Fantasy VII Remake and the Rebirth series. I've been having a lot of fun with them. And that specific clip was because I was working on a new outfit for my model, specifically inspired by the one of the two dancers. So not Cloud. I am planning on making Cloud outfit at some point. But I was specifically looking at that one. And the reason why I specifically said, isn't it weird I'm straight, is because I have had like 2 instances recently where some friends of mine were, to say it mildly, wildly shocked that I was straight. I'm giving off a vibe, but yeah. So I was having a lot of fun with that, and the fact that I love that extremely burlesque dancing scene, it just came to me. It's like, man, I kind of get why people sometimes can get confused.
Exactly. So you're bro crushing on Cloud, and you're like, it's amazing that I'm still straight.
It's just so weird that he is so stuck up, and then for that specific scene, he's like, yes, I know all the choreographed moves. So it's like, Cloud, don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. You've been practicing. You've been practicing in front of a mirror. You can't lie to me.
Exactly. A little bit fabulous. Just a little bit. So
there's a little bit of fabulous all the time.
Awesome. Okay. Being slay is for everyone if you let it. Exactly, Cat Barrett Cafe.
So
exactly. Okay. Alright, and then the very first question we usually start with is the lore behind the name. Can you tell us the lore behind Rene right here? How did you come up with your channel name?
So it kind of ties into some of the people I watched on Twitch before I started. So one of the people I watched quite a bit of, specifically VODs, because they always streamed when I was sleeping. But that was Barry Kramer. But his Twitch name is, or was back then, Barry is streaming. And I always like that because it kind of gives this sense of, being live, being present. and I have a little bit of a fan for alliterations, so I thought Rene right here. Just it felt nice, it came off the tongue, and it was that sense of just, you know what, when you're here, I am right here, and we're live, and that's how we're doing it. Yeah, Barry emotes. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, Barry.
Yeah, he used to be an editor for Game Grumps on YouTube, and then he kind of ended up breaking off and doing his own things. And he is entertaining in a way that I find very inspiring. So it was one of the, like, yeah, you know what, yeah, I sense the vibe, I'm picking it up, and I'm going with it.
Very nice, very nice. Okay. All right, and then the second standard question we start with is the hardware setup. What is all the hardware required to run a Rene Right Here stream?
So it's a little unfair question because I got a major upgrade to my PC about 2 weeks ago. I have a new PC.
Nice.
We call it Mitsutatsu, based off a Yakuza 0 character who's absolutely kick-ass. But before that, I had a PC that was mid-range 6 years ago, so it was struggling with the overlay and the setup I was running. We'll get to why it was struggling so much.
Okay, well, tell us about your old rig and then tell us about your new rig.
God, I don't even know what my old rig is. I just remembered that the graphics card only had 3 numbers, so I'm assuming it's very old.
Damn.
Yeah, we're back on that.
Do you
one.
remember if it was NVIDIA or AMD?
It was an Intel, I think.
Dude, what the fuck? You had an old Intel card that had 3 digits?
Yeah. Listen, I was severely needing an upgrade for a long time.
Wait. But that means that with your old rig, your Unity project was pretty well optimized then.
No.
No, it was not. Okay.
No,
okay.
that was one of the major issues I ran into. I learned a lot about optimization because I had to. Yeah, like one of the big I mean, it's actually in a larger perspective, I've really enjoyed having so much issues with it because I've learned how to optimize, and I try to also help people because I know there's a couple of people who are also building these sorts of setups. And I know, like, one specifically person where I usually try to remind them of this needs to be optimized because otherwise you're going to explode your shit. Max, who is running a very impressive project in their overlay that they want to make this Tron Inspire world, but they also need to run it, and I really hope that they get it up and running because it's gonna be so cool when it's up and running. But Jesus Christ, I hope Max got a big rig because it would need it. But yeah, so with the 2.0 of the overlay, which is the thing I have right now, I've been doing a lot of focus on trying to optimize things and even done a little bit of code refactoring, which I haven't done before that, and just doing lightings and stuff. But yeah, no, it was struggling. It was struggling. Like, even when I was streaming games off my console, just having the software to capture that, plus the overlay plus OBS, was sometimes too much.
Yep.
But now I have a spanking new PC. We're looking at some AMD Ryzen 7 7700X 8-core. Got a lot of stuff in there. But we got the Radeon, the XFX Radeon.
AMD card.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like I was talking back and forth with so I decided to go through a company that like specifically helps people with like figuring out which parts to get, and I wanted them to build it because then if something breaks, it's not my fault, and I can look at them and be like, fix it. And it was at a point where the Intel graphics cards, I think it was like a month after that it had come out that I think it was the 14th generation had some corrosion issues. And then they were like, "Oh, well, just get the 15th generation." I was like, "I don't trust you." It's like the 14th generation was also like only showing issues after a couple of years, and now you're telling me that your new graphics card is, or your new ones are super fine. I was like, I'm gonna pick something else. So I end up going for like a full AMD solution, and it's been good so far. I have stress tested it a little bit, basically doing something I couldn't on my old PC. But yeah, so I've been moving over there, and I haven't been stressing about it yet.
Okay, so your video card is like a 970 XT or what is it?
Yeah, 79 XT Merc. I'm literally so okay, so here's the thing. I'm not super knowledgeable about this, so I basically just have a cheat sheet from the people who build it for me that I
Nice.
then
Tell me all
went
the
through. So
numbers.
I'm just like
Tell me
looking
all
at it
the
and be like,
numbers. How many gigs of
numbers? You want
RAM?
numbers? I got
Yeah,
numbers for you.
gigs of
A
RAM.
power cable, 1.5 meter, European standard. You like that? You want other numbers? We got cards. We got. It's also in Danish, so I have to like translate it while talking about it. But yeah, it's been quiet. It's been powerful. The way that I tested whether this would be like this was an upgrade. I mean, I knew it was an upgrade. I just need to have an idea of like how much was that I streamed Deep Rock Galactic, Twitch integrated, and I just allowed people to spawn in like one of the most intensive monsters, the detonators. So we were looking at having like 20 detonators in the map at the same time while I was streaming, while I was having the overlay open, and the PC didn't even fucking flinch, and it was great.
Yeah, Cat Bear
There was
Cafe
explosions everywhere.
says that stream was wild. It was great. Nice. Nice. Okay. Okay, so
But yeah, so I did a major upgrade, and it was necessary. Besides that, I like things I'm running into my PC. I got a Switch, I got the PlayStation 5, I got a Elgato HD 60S Plus capture card to make everything run smoothly.
nice.
Mic sound is all by Elgato, the Wave 3 mic with
Nice.
the necessary software to it. And then I prefer cabled headphones, so I got a Philips Fidelio X2 HR. I'm not a big fan of Bluetooth and just things that needs battery power. And as mentioned, currently no camera because it's being blocked. I don't really know what the problem is. I think it's something about USB not being able to output the amount of power because of some software updates. So I'm talking to some Windows people to be like, hey, help. But it's an old Razer Kio, so it might also be that it just stopped working. But I would prefer to know before going out and buying a new camera.
Gotcha. No stream decks or anything like that.
No Stream Decks. I want to at some point because I also know some other people who are running like a Unity overlay like this, and they also have Stream Deck connectivity, and having that quicker access to doing stuff would be nice. And the camera would also be necessary in the near future because I am currently working with someone to making my model, and more specifically the rig, accessible and usable in VR chat because I got some plans. I got some plans.
VR chat, nice, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you kind of touched on it, but let's go ahead and go in depth on it. The software setup. What
Yes.
softwares are required for Rene stream?
So, well, okay. Number of software, pretty low maintenance. I got OBS with, some closed captioning. I got my streamer bot. I'm using Mixitup. But then the rest of it is running through a custom-made Unity overlay, which is integrated with Twitch. So, there's a lot of features, and we'll probably touch upon them while we do this. But I can move out of my chair. Don't look at the animation when I move out of the chair because that's one of the things that are a little bit broken. There we go.
Coggers?
But yeah,
You do the little flip?
Hey, no, listen. Animation is difficult, and making it run great is more difficult. But yeah, so it's a theater aesthetic, but it's also let me see if I can remember my hotkeys. it is placed on a rock in space.
Mm.
Um, and we have a VIP bar for people who have subscribed. And to mention that, when people type in chat over here to turn into little rats, so you can see we got Moldrum just staring into the back of the chair, which I don't really know why.
Yeah.
Moldrum is one of the custom rat models, so you can see he's like a bottle with some liquid squelching inside. But yeah, it's fully 3D and custom made, and we have a little public bar area here. We got a band with a piano.
Oh,
We got a
nice.
bar. Anyway, turn it on. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like we got accessibility if you want that. The little elevators.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we got Ross. We got the higher echelons here. We got, chandeliers. We got stuff. And then the more important part is the stage getting down here. So let me see if I can find like a good camera view. Whoop, that's inside of my head. There we go. So I can kind of see that we got a stage down there. I'll actually just go down there. There we go. So this is like a whole stage area. And when I stream, it is usually happening on this screen. So now you can clearly see. Oh, you'll get to see all the things I have going on here.
Wow.
Yeah, now you can see people are typing scene, which will spawn them over here, and then channel points can also affect your model. But there's a lot of things. I've been building it for quite a while.
All right. Let's see if this works. If we type in shared chat, we'll see what happens.
Ooh. Actually, I did test it. Share chat does work.
I got those.
Yeah, so
type
you can see Gatos over there.
Yeah,
Raw Riz
type
is over there.
scene. Type exclamation
Yeah,
point
yeah, yeah.
scene. Join the Accursed Theater. Can you explain what the Accursed Theater is?
So that kind of ties into the sort of like lore I have, the
Okay.
narrative I like to write, because I'm a fan of Eldritch horror, but I don't like to say, "Ooh, now it's spooky." So I just like to have this like overarching, or more like underlying sense of there's something deeply wrong here. Let me see if I can find a specific part that's more precise, more overtop than undertoned. So over here we have a little, I think altar is probably the right word, for a creature that we call the King in Yellow.
Oh, wow.
And the King in Yellow is just, he's just hanging out around. He's not. I mean, he's not here. This is just a clay figurine made by rats. And kind of, if you look at the, that's close up. There we go. If you kind of look at the rock face down in the bottom, there's a big crack there. Yeah, okay. People are asking for the king, but he's not really interested. The crack there. The king is sleeping. Everything is fine. Don't worry about it. The king is fine. Yeah. Boop. And there's also a basement, but we don't go into basement. So the whole Accursed Theater, it's based off of a character known as Hastur, which is the King in Yellow, and I've just adopted that name. But I think one of the things I like to write. Oh, there's also a big possum in the garbage. That's Melvin. Melvin's a good boy. Hastur is kind of this this entity that's known in literature for some. And one of the things I like when writing is that it might be that Hastur or the King in Yellow is different in my overlay than it is in anybody else's. So that's what I've been doing. The basement. Don't stop. No, don't worry about the basement. The basement's not here. Yeah, something. There you go. I can grab him.
Oh, you got mechanics. You got mechanics. Grabbed.
Yeah. I can grab rats. I can also throw them around.
No, you threw mechanics.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, I can grab them. That's fine. I can also put them down. Oh well, okay, maybe it's just a little bit more, little less force, little less. There we go. Okay, there we go. Going to boom. Don't go in the basement. I don't even know what basement you're talking about. There is no basement. We also got Mandy here. Speaking of
Wait. Yeah, I was like, wait, that's Fritzy's fruit.
Yeah, that's Mandy. Yeah. We also got some ice creams here in the fridge, which is Space Pirate Fenrir.
Okay.
So we got a couple of things. Fen pups.
And then, why is everybody a rat?
God, hey, so the real answer is that I woke up like a Saturday morning and I was like, I'm feeling like I want to work on the overlay today. And I sat down and I spent 5 hours and I made a very basic rat model. And I thought, you know what, this rules. I think it's just because abandoned places, abandoned theaters would have rats in it, and now it's just a narrative of everybody who enters my domain, they get turned into rats and they're scamping around. I did walk past them quickly, but we have a house band, which is just 5 different rats. Um, yeah, rats are also super cute. So yeah, so there are 5 different band members, and the story is also that they are previous mafia members, and they have names, and there's also a little bit of interracial tension going on. Like they're somebody got the hots for them, but they don't really. So it's like multiple stages of like what's going on between them. And I have some plans for kind of expanding upon that.
Bro, this
But
sounds
yeah,
complicated.
listen, there are stories and narratives, and I think Senpai was also around. Senpai is a huge fan of Horatio, the drummer, which I also gave Horatio a specific command, which is this one. Wait, I need to be very careful now. Whoop! Don't worry about that. Hey, Horatio, how has your day been? Oh, okay. He found that funny. It's fine. The fun thing is that this is a cutaway camera, and I basically just coded so there's a 50% chance that he'll do a rim shot, and if not, he'll just okay. He did a rim shot again.
Shot again.
He usually doesn't want to do the rim shot. He usually just that one. He just usually just stares at me, and it's kind of rude.
That's kind of funny. I always love a classic rim shot.
Yes, me too. We also have a command that's available for the mods to basically go up in the tech booth. I didn't show the tech booth.
What's the tech booth?
Basically just to make like a cutaway gag, which I find very funny. So here you can see there's the band members. They're just playing around. They can play more upbeat music, and then they can really go wild. They're really tooting that horn. And Horatio's popping off as always.
Nice, Horatio.
Do. All right, I'll get back to the lounge so I can get back my comfortable seat.
Wait. You're gonna show us the tech booth. Where's the tech booth?
Well, the tech booth is on the way. I'm professional. So here's the tech booth. Let me see if I can.
Oh, there's a coffee machine in there.
Thank you. The coffee machine is one of my the models I'm the most proud of. I just really like it. It's just cool.
This seems like the band's eternal damnation. True.
Now,
the tech booth is
the
powered
band,
by
the
coffee.
The ones doing the best around here. They're fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the tech booth, and I also have a cam for it. So I think that's me. Hi, that's me. Let me do a little dance for you. All right. But yeah, that's the booth up here. So yeah, I've been working on this model for quite a while. I haven't touched it in a while, but sorry. But yeah, it's my little fun little side project. There we go. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about your streaming journey. What inspired you to start streaming on Twitch?
So I kind of mentioned in the beginning that one of my inspirations for how to do entertainment on Twitch was Barry streaming. I watched their VODs for quite a while. But the thing that got me started streaming was actually I needed accountability for a project I was doing. So I was a DM for my campaign, and we have moved over to a software called Tailspire. And Tailspire you can use to make 3D maps similar to Dwarven Forge, which is physical maps. And I had a hard time getting my nose to the grindstone and actually do those maps. So I decided, you know what if I streamed me making those maps? That would probably make it easier. And it did help. I ended up getting all the maps done. And then at the same time, I was like, you know what? I'll just also play video games just because I find it interesting. I find it funny. I was inspired to do it. I think one of the first games I actually streamed was Yakuza 0. Yeah, either that or Deltarune. One of those two. But yeah, so it started as me needing accountability. And then after a while, I started to get some viewers, and I started to like hang out in other streams, other people who were building in Tailspire, and that's how I got my footing, how I got it started. Um, and then after a while, I ended up being at a point where like I don't need to make more maps. Like for my campaign, it's closing to an end. It's been running for like 9 years, and I was like, well, what do I need to do for creative then? And then I saw another stream called Swift, which also runs this kind of like Unity-based overlay. And I was like, I barely know 3D modeling. I don't know coding or anything. I can probably make that. And then I started at some point.
Oh, wow. Then Blue on Rune said 9 years? Wait, this has been 9 years in the making?
No, so my tabletop campaign had been running for 9 years before I wrapped it up. I've been streaming for 2 years and 10 months ish soon.
Working on 3, okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Did you have any expectations when you first started? How have those changed over time?
When I started, I didn't really have any expectations. It's been one of those cases where I wasn't really using Twitch I wasn't really using Twitch. I was watching Twitch VODs, but I didn't really have a community, or I wasn't really part of many live communities, so I didn't really know what to expect. I just used it for accountability. So as long as there was one other person around, I was good. Like even sometimes, like some streams, nobody was around, and I was fine. So I just kind of used it for what it was, which was being entertaining and trying to build something. And then over time, caught the attention of some people and managed to get involved in some communities, which then later on turned into having communities spawn out from what I was doing. So I think like over time it turned into a solely I'm doing my own thing for my own enjoyment's sake to becoming more of a I'm doing my own thing, but I want to help those around me to also be able to do their own thing. Like for example, when I started, it took me about 4 months to become affiliate, and it was honestly the follower number that was the issue for me. Like I had average viewers enough, that was fine, but I didn't have enough followers, and I just remember I hated that period of going from I'm starting to stream to I want to become affiliate, because I didn't really know what to do to get more attention. So now I'm in a situation where whenever somebody that is like around my stream start streaming, I want to help them through that part as quickly as possible. Don't look at that quote. So the fact that I can now be in a situation where I can help people, that is the part of the streaming that has kind of changed my expectations. Now I'm at a point where I can actually help people.
Yeah, Cat Baron is saying, yeah, the theater is a good community. Hope have made a lot of good buds through here.
Hell yeah.
Okay. So it's evolved.
Yeah, it's becoming a problem whenever I have to raid out, because it's like
you have so many
all my friends are streaming. It's like who of the 7 people do I pick?
Theater is a good place, says Scamper Merkins. Okay. Okay. And then were there any streamers or influencers, creators that influenced your style or approach?
So yeah, I've already mentioned a couple of them. Barry Streaming was huge for like how to run entertainment and how to just pick what streams to do. Deutschswift was also one I mentioned earlier, which is also a big part of it. Um, and that was because of their essentially what it was is that I watched Deutschswift and they have a very like well put together, visually pleasing overlay. Um, and Barry had also noticed that, and then as an April Fool's joke, he made like a I'm gonna be nice and say like a more bare bones overlay, and that was when I went, wait, I can also make something like this. So I say those two are like huge for
Mhm.
that. Another person that's also been inspiring just in the energy that they can deliver on stream and like the passion they deliver is another streamer called Onsta, which I have had the pleasure of like working with like since then. Um, but yeah, just the energy she can deliver for stream has always been something I've been like hugely inspired by.
Mm.
Um, yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
I'll notes.
All right. And then, okay, so you mentioned you didn't have a coding background or a 3D background. So let me ask you this. Your journey from starting with no modeling or 3D experience or coding uh, knowledge to create an accursed theater is incredible. What
Thank you.
inspired you to go down this path?
Um, so I will say like a little disclaimer. I knew very little 3D work before that. I made a French page cover in Blender, but that was basically just placing model and then working with cameras and stuff, and that was difficult enough.
Mm.
Coding, no, absolutely nothing. I had done like a little bit of Python, but that was more like following a recipe book. It's just enough that I could see colored text and not be scared. And I honestly think the thing that inspired me to go down this path was being very low on the Dunning Kruger effect. If you know that one, it's basically the less you know, the more you think you can. So I was like, I know nothing. I could probably figure it out. No, Ansa didn't make this 3D model for you. Actually, funnily enough, I've been helping Onsta learn 3D. So it ends up being the other
Oh.
way around.
Mm.
But yeah, so essentially I knew so little that I didn't know what I was going into, and I was done with my creative project, which was making maps for TTRPG, and I needed a new thing. And I like learning new things. So I thought, you know what? This seems fun. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like if I get burned out, it's fine. Um, but I ended up having a pretty good workflow for keeping myself motivated to do it. Um, so yeah, so I managed to pace myself out pretty well. So that and pure stubbornness, I think, is probably the good things.
Okay, but what inspired you to go down the path? Just, just sheer, just sheer willing, just sheer will. Is that what took you down that?
What inspired me was well, I mean, and we can end up talking about like why people start VTubing. Um, I wanted some sort of artistic representation that could have more fun with. Um, and it was either learning 2D skills and starting to draw more and kind of using that to feed into my overlay, or learning 3D skills. And I felt more comfortable learning 3D. So it was this like necessity to do something creative, and then this was the path I ended up going down.
Mm.
And it's been good. Like I've been managing to meet a lot of wonderful people, a lot of wonderfully creative people and helpful people. Yeah,
Okay.
one with 3D, but so daunting. Um, yeah, having a project like this overlay is very good for learning because the worst thing you could do if you want to learn Blender is to learn the whole software and then start on your project. My recommendation is always have a project you really want to do, like something you're really inspired about. I don't. Whenever people say, "Oh, I did the donut, but I didn't really get it," I'm like, "Don't make the donut. Nobody cares about a donut. Make a 3D model of something you care about, and then
Mm.
learn the tools necessary to do that, and then slowly build up." Um, I've only just recently started sculpting because I had to do it, but I've been scared of sculpting for so long.
Yeah, my teammate and friend Saria, um,
Hmm.
Saria streamer, was like, "Hey, you really like boobs? Everybody likes boobs. I love boobs.
Yeah.
Model
Hmm.
boobs. That'll teach Blender.
Model boobs.
Model
Yep,
boobs." Mm-hmm.
that's really good. Yeah, like make something you care about.
Mm-hmm. That was exactly Saria's response. It's got to be something you care about. And Saria's like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, boobs. Everybody cares about boobs."
I
Uh,
think the last time I helped something, which is another streamer called Crepus, they needed to learn a bit more 3D,
mhm.
uh, and I asked them like, well, what do you want to make? And she said she wanted to make my model a bit simplified, but also MPEG. And I was like, fine, I can't back down now. I'm gonna help you, but I just need you to know I'm annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up being a good model, and Kreb learned a lot about Blender.
We'll
It just
also make
happened
you
to be
Craig.
that it was my model Impreg to
Mm-hmm.
be the vessel for that. I was like, if you weren't charming, I would have been mad.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Can you walk us through some of the biggest challenges you faced while building a virtual interactive
Nuclear launch
output
detected.
overlay?
Yeah, so like in the beginning it was definitely when I got to the coding part that was a huge hurdle. At that point I got a lot of help from one of my friends, Pilkey, who basically sat down and taught me the basics and helped me through it. And also for some of the more complex stuff like how rats spawn into this overlay, and how when somebody types in chat, how do I maintain that connection between the chatter and the rat model, and like how do I make that thing do things. um that was Pilkey. And then later down the line it became optimization. My first stream from the overlay was rough, and that was because I didn't know about object culling, which is essentially if a 3D object is not within the camera view, you don't spend resources on thinking about it. I didn't have that, so my whole overlay was loaded in at the same time, and my PC was struggling. And then I learned object
Oof.
calling, so that became optimization. So it's been those on the technical sides, but then also sometimes the issue has been like having a consistent art direction, which is only something I've been like really thinking about the last like 6 months or so, because I've been talking to some very artistically inclined people, and they've been very helpful in saying that, you know, I asked them and then they give me feedback. Um, so yeah, so those are kind of the things I've been having to deal with. It's been coding, optimizing, making things look good. Like I can make a model, but I don't necessarily say that I make a pretty model. I've been getting better though.
Mhm. Okay, so I think we touched on this, but I'll still ask it. Your chat literally spawns into your overlay as rats. How did that idea come about?
Hmm. Yeah, I mentioned the day where it happened, where it just got inspired, but essentially it's stream avatars. You have your own iteration of it, but there's also other people that have like, when people either are viewers or chatters, they have a little model down in the bottom walking around with their name tag over it. And I thought like, yeah, that's very cool. How can I take that and incorporate it into the overlay? How can I essentially make it mine? Um, and that was it. And I really wanted to have this very clear connectivity between the chatter in the chat and the rat in the theater. So it's one of those cases where my model, like the model for the rat, is pretty basic. Like it's fairly simple. And one of the ideas that I had from the get-go was that I wanted the rat to be somewhat nondescript and basic. It's kind of like the JRPG main protagonist syndrome of like they make them bland so it's easier to project yourself onto it, and that was kind of the idea behind it. So it was taking an idea that existed, having some extra things on top of it, making sure that people could easily project onto it. If I'd made like an over designed rat with or just a theater guest with a top hat or something, people would say like, well, I don't want to wear a top hat, so they could distance themselves from it. But when it's just a round little rat blob, it's like, yeah, I can see myself being a little rat. So that was like the whole idea behind it.
Okay. And then I learned a little bit about your lore, but I'm gonna speak about it as if I've never heard it before. There's a king in yellow that looms over your theater. How did you develop the lore, and do you plan to expand it further?
Yeah. So the the idea was always that something eldritch lived within the rock that my theater existed upon.
Okay,
Um,
so take it
and
from the top. What is the
yes.
King of Yellow? Who is the King of Yellow?
Okay, so in literature, the King of Yellow is an eldritch being that is tied heavily to arts. So a lot of artists and people who work in plays or theater gets inspiration from this King in Yellow, and they didn't entertain him to please him. Whatever. There's not a lot of lore about the King in Yellow. He's basically been mentioned like an off comment in the first manuscript, and then some other people took it and kind of expanded a little bit more upon it. But I'm kind of going back to being like, well, there is this idea of an eldritch being that likes entertainment. I'm gonna take that idea and I'm gonna put it in my own overlay. Um, so that was kind of in the works from the get go, just story wise. And then when I moved over to version 2.0, that's when I took my old model of the rock, which was literally just a rock, and then I added the crack on the side with the yellow tint. Yellow has always also been like attributed to the King in Yellow. Makes sense. Um, so yeah, so I've already expanded upon it between 1 and 2, but in between, I'm experimenting with various things. I think in my Discord for a bit, I had like a channel specifically for a character that wrote diary notes about their investigations into the theater and what was more important. I haven't touched that in a while, but I do want to go back to it. I think creative writing is fun.
Mm-hmm.
So and now we have more integration with the King in Yellow. I always wanted him to be like a distant side character. Essentially, when I created him, he would be my out if I ever wanted to stop streaming. Essentially, the explanation would be I'm no longer interested in pleasing the King in Yellow, so he's shutting the stream down. So that would be my way out if I ever wanted to end streaming in that capacity. But people are starting like we're starting to use the character a bit more. The model we went down and looked at, the snake-like creature that's made in clay and whatever, was made by the 2D concept art was made by Lovesick Like a Dog, which is another streamer, a good friend of mine. Um, and now I've also made a command that is essentially an 8-ball command. So you ask a question and then the king will just respond back with a random non sequitur question like an answer. We also recently made it so that there's a chance that he will just yell silence and then emote only mode gets turned on. Um, just because I like that idea. So I'm constantly planning a little bit, but often it's because I'm getting input from the community, and I usually end up taking the idea and then forming it in some way and turning it into a new piece of toy that we can play with in the overlay.
Nice. Okay, so community has ownership in your lore. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, for sure. Like the band I was talking about, Horatio and Radmir and Ratshell and Radko, and there's another one. Um, a lot of the interpersonal connections is not something I've written. It's just well, I think I give like a one line descriptor, and then some people are like, wait, Radko is interested in Horatio, but Horatio is oblivious. Oh my god.
I gotcha.
So I usually I think the my approach to it is I usually try to like send ideas out to the community, and then when things come back, that's when I take it and form it into something. But yeah.
Mm. Okay, so I know you recently added an ability to play the piano in your project. Ratio
Yes.
as an ace says distracted senpai. Exactly.
Horatio is quite oblivious. He doesn't really interact with that sort of thing.
How do you decide what features to add to the theater? Have there been any
Um,
community suggested ideas that turned out way better than expected?
so they always have to go through me because I'm the one who needs to make them.
Yep.
So if it's way too involved, I'll probably skip out on it. Or yeah, but I mean, in general, I like to at least take the idea or the sentiment of the idea and turn it into something. Um, uh, yeah, like oh god, I'm gonna sound like a stickler, but I have some very strict guidelines for what I want to see in a feature. In general, I prefer to have very little control over the rat models. I could pick them up and throw them around, but that's because people want it, and then I can also give them uppies. Um, and the user also has very limited control over my model. So, for example, I think at some point we're talking about having a feature where people could take control over my model, but I'm not really interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
So, keeping autonomy between the chatters and me is something I prefer. Um, but that being said, I love taking ideas and turning it into something in the overlay. During December, I was taking I was taking submissions for bottle designs because I have a bar and I have placeholder models in there, and I kind of want to change that. So during December, I got way more bottles than I thought I would, and over the last month and a half, I've been working on making all of those models. And I've at the point now where I'm starting to like put them into the overlay. Um, so it's stuff like this. Like I have a lot of people in the community that know a lot of things. Like I have a good friend, one of my mods, Catterday, has usually worked in theater production. So I usually talk to her
Mm-hmm.
about uh, doing scene specific lighting because I have a theater stage. I might as well use it. And then other people too. Like I get an inspiration from a lot of places.
Mm. Okay, so you do take some suggestions slash
Yes.
inspiration from your community to add to your theater, but you primarily work to add the different features because you are the dev that has to make it work.
Yes. I mean, there are several ideas that I had not come up with, but somebody's like, "Hey, can we have this?" I was like, "Oh, that is the best idea I've ever heard." And then I've been postponing my other things I wanted to do to add this one feature.
Mm.
So if the idea is good, the idea is good. And I usually also make sure to uh, credit it somewhere, or
Okay.
just say like, "This was not my idea. This was somebody else's."
Okay, so the recent idea to be able to play the piano in your project, was that you or was that community?
So that was a community thing because
Mm.
during December, I wanted to talk to other people who were doing streams like this and like ask for suggestions. So I actually had Fruitsy Collins on stream, and Fruits had suggested that giving rats a little bit of accessory. So you can look at my channel points and you can see that there's a customize my rat. There's a high tier customized rat that's not available right now because I have to make that one and I'm a little overbooked with stuff. But
Mhm.
you can give yourself a top hat, or you can give yourself a boa or like a monocle. Um, that was Fruit's idea. The piano was a suggestion that I worked with together with Doig from Doig Swift. Um, and now I kind of want to expand that piano feature, um, because we have now set up a system where you can play 2 octaves and you can change the tempo and you have access to sharps and flats and everything. But we don't have a good storing system for when we find a good song that works. So that's the thing that I kind of want to make. It should work like a quote system where you can be like exclamation point notebook Undertale, and then it would pick out all the Undertale things that we've made that works, and then people can play it in chat. But it's fun because I have also people in my chat who are musically inclined, so they also have fun like trying to work out like, oh no, I need to change the tempo here, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, and I can also say I'll redeem the boa. It also works the way that every time you redeem it again, it expands upon it. So if you do the top hat like 10 times, you will have 10 top hats stacked upon yourself. And every
That's
time
kind
you
of
pick
funny.
up boa, I think it increases in size by like 5%. And it stores it over streams. So at some point you could just have a huge boa that fills up half the screen. That's out of my control.
My bow is
That's for
observed.
them to
It's
do.
great, says Cat Baron. Nice. All right. You recently debuted 2.0 of your overlay. What are your biggest upgrades and what's next for the theater?
Biggest upgrades is the fact that I've added like 5 new rooms. So the
Damn.
VIP lounge that we're in right now is one of the rooms. And we've also made it so that when you subscribe, you get a little name plaque up on the wall that randomly spawns in. There's also the atrium, which I haven't used that much. I just like the idea of having like an outside atrium. And then I also have the backstage, which I have some plans for in the future that I want to expand upon. So that plus just a little bit of optimization. Always optimize your games. Um, but generally, it's just a signature to the fact that I have learned a lot of Blender since I made this model, and I wanted to showcase that by kind of just expanding on a bunch of things.
Optimization never
Optimizing
ends.
never ends. It really doesn't.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, just general optimization. I tried to keep all the old features that I had, but um, yeah, I actually think I kept all the old features. For some of them, it's just a matter of refactoring code, so it worked a little smoother. Because again, some of the code was being built as I needed. So at some point, I was like, wait, the thing I've made right now doesn't work for the pressure it needs or it meets right now. So at some point, you just need to refactor it because it was working way better. Like it was way more popular than you thought, or you noticed the bug that you had to go and fix.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
All right. And recently, I noticed you became a Twitch advisor. So, can you tell us you're now a Twitch advisor? Congrats.
Thank you.
What does the role entail, and how do you hope to help the VTuber community?
So the being a VTuber advisor just means that Twitch recently made or expanded upon a program they have, which is called Creator Camps. In the beginning, it was people doing our IRL streams and DJ streams. They got these clubs, and essentially, it's just people who generally associate themselves with that category. They can get into a private Discord for those people, and then it's basically knowledge exchange, and then you have advisors, which are people who are considered um, people who know what they're talking about and can generally advise people on whatever questions they may have. Yeah, because if you look at Twitch analytics back when COVID started, there was a lot of people who started streaming. Like the amount of people who streamed like boomed, and then with more people like learning about VTubing, kind of get that way. It means that there's quite a huge influx of people who does VTubing on a regular. which is also why the creator club for VTubers is by far the largest one. So we have a lot of people who have jumped onto this, and then sometimes people just wanna get some advice or wanna get the opinion from somebody else. Um, and there's multiple advisors. I think 7 in total. I want to say for the VTubers, and it's ranging from people who are like some of them are partners, some of them are in the 400, 500 average viewer counts, and then we also have some people who are affiliate and a little lower average viewer count, and that's where I'm in. Um, and essentially, essentially, I know one of the advisors, and when they realized how many VTubers were coming in, they needed like extra people. So they interviewed me for about an hour, Twitch staff, and then I got invited in.
Oh,
And
nice.
I've been trying to help people out. Yeah, so it's generally there. People can send in questions, and then the advisors have a chance to like respond and kind of talk back and forth with people and trying to help them out most possibly. Love some help when I DJ streams. There is a DJ Creative Club, and I'm fairly certain you can apply to get in there. It's for everybody who's affiliate and up, and that's just because Twitch needs to make sure that you're 18 plus to enter that server. So if you're affiliate and if you regularly stream in those categories, or it's VTubers, you just have to stream and you're a VTuber,
Yep.
then you are accessible to get in. So yeah, so that's how it is right now. And then the plans for the future is that people like for example, as an advisor, I could set up a seminar to like help out in a larger scale. But we're kind of building it up, and we're seeing where it goes, and we're trying to make sure that the whole thing works. Um, so we're trying to make it work, and
So unhappy.
we're helping people out. It like legitimately, we can see that people are being helped out by it. Thank you for the follow.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, I want to say, like, I'm part of the VTuber Creator Club, and I was also part of the DJ one. I'm also part of the coding and co-working one. And when the VTuber one went live, like, that Discord just exploded with people.
Yeah, there was a little bit of annoyance from people because they had to stop submitting people because it was going too fast. One of the core tenet was that this was supposed to be community building, but if you have 100 people rushing in like every day, like it was more than that. But if you have 100 people rushing into your server, that does not make a community. That makes a big pile that doesn't get organized. So therefore, they had to like stop it and then slowly feed people in so we can make sure that it had a more of a control growth because the VTuber was just popping off.
Yep. Yeah, it popped off way too fast, way too hard. And then
Yep. And luckily, the people who are responsible for the Creative Club, they noticed that very quickly and be like, we gotta slow down. We gotta slow down, everybody. Come on, let's
yep.
take a chill.
Also, there's a conspiracy theory that they don't like VTubers as much as other categories, so that didn't help that relationship.
No, I mean, there will always be people a little annoyed. Like, listen, I have my gripes with Twitch, but in general, I feel like at least these last couple of months, getting to see what they work on, has been nice to kind of see that they're trying, and when they mess up, they do actually they do actually listen a little bit sometimes. So that's kind of hopeful, and I'm generally anti Corbo. Like the campaign I'm running right now for my friends, that's a cyberpunk campaign, and I get to be evil Corpo times, and it's wonderful. Generally not a fan. I have seen Twitch do some nice moves after some fuck ups, and it's great to see.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, speaking, being a shout out to the Artist and Makers Club. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, speaking of VTubers, VTuber tech has evolved rapidly. Where do you see the future of VTubing heading?
So already at this point, I feel it's at a good pace. But like the thing that I really love to see whenever I see it happening is when the bar for accessibility gets lowered, when system usage gets lowered, um, because I generally feel like more people playing with these toys, playing with these software, playing with these programs becomes super interesting. Um, I've been looking into some tracking software. Mostly when I hear about people using like tracking software for the VTubers, I generally hear about using iPhone cameras, and that for me that just sounds like a really high bar for getting into it. So I've been looking into um, other ways of tracking, and it's kind of getting that way. So kind of getting that stronger accessibility into the tech is what I like to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're saying the future is heading towards better tracking and better accessibility. Okay.
Yeah, better accessibility is probably the biggest thing. Like model wise, you can always find somebody who's working on a model or learning how to make models. So if you want a good VTuber model, you don't have to go out and get the most expensive model. You can find somebody who's learning the craft, and you can get it that way. That will help.
Mm-hmm.
But on the tech side, having things that can run in the background, like I'm not running tracking software. I'm planning to do that now with my new PC, and I'm kind of working on that on the back end to kind of prepare my model for that sort of tracking. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want to buy an iPhone for that, so I've been looking into other options. And I found one. I think Mordecai uses it.
Mm-hmm.
A streamer called Mordecai used that, and it's just using their webcam, and it seems to be running pretty lightweight. So I'm excited to try and play around with that.
Okay, so wait, you're 3D, but you're saying that like you're blinking, your mouth opening, it's more is your project more interpretive to your voice and no facial tracking?
So I'm running a couple things. So the blinking, that's just baked in. That's just canned animation. So
Okay.
it's running on a cycle. The face movement and mouth is purely audio based. So
Mm.
it's using the Hikomi lip sync library, which you can also see from live 2D models that don't use audio, like don't use visual tracking. They can just use phonemes. And Hikomi also have one for 3D. So when I found that one, I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" And version 2 of my model, which is the one I'm using right now, I kind of abuse that knowledge. So essentially, when I'm talking, if I'm making an A sound, it blends the blend shapes of my face, but it doesn't just do the mouth. I've also made it so that the blend shape involves my eyebrows and my ears, so my face is moving way more basically just based on my sound. So I'm using no tracking for this. This is just bop, bop, beep, bop, 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 bop. And that moves my ears around and kind of gives more life to my face, because that was the thing I noticed with my 1.0 model, where I'd only made blend shapes for the mouth and not just involving the face a bit more. Because when I moved over to VTubing, one of the things I noticed was the fact that I'm way more expressive than my model would give account
Mm.
for. So I wanted to kind of feed that back into it. So kind of learned a lot, and kind of had a little trick up my sleeve.
Nice. All right, so you're 3D, but with 2D non-motion tracking elements, which is cool, which is like kind of in between. Because even within the VTuber community, 3D's in the minority, not the majority.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I'm generally in the camp of, as long like the second you have a static image on screen, you're a VTuber, because you have a virtual representation of yourself on screen, and that's all it takes. And then there are various degrees. I wouldn't say levels. I don't like the idea of saying like, oh, very expensive 3D model is the highest you can get in VTubing. I don't think that's interesting to talk about that way, but you have a spectrum. Um, I also know people who just uses like the talking non-talking PNG tuber, but they also take GIFs, so you can have more motion just by having two states essentially, and then you can have a full spectrum of it. It's like, any sort of like visual representation of yourself, if that is the majority of your representation, you're a VTuber, and then how you decide to represent that's up to you.
Yep. Okay. All right, and then since you're part of the advisor for aspiring VTubers or interactive streamers, what advice would you give for integrating tech like yours into the stream?
Ooh, I mean, I generally support people who wants to make a overlay like mine, like a video game. But my advice would be don't. uh, with the idea being, if I can convince you not to do it, then you shouldn't do it. If I say don't do it and you still want to do it, then you should totally do it. Um, it I'm essentially a indie game developer as a hobbyist outside having my normal like 8 to 4 job. So if you want to have these sorts of overlays that I have, you need pacing. You need it's not something that's done overnight. Yeah, like I made a 3D adventure game. Also, if you know game development, you would know that the last thing you should make as your first game is a 3D movement environment character game because there's so many moving parts in it that you shouldn't do as a beginner, and I ignored all that. um, but that being said, I really love this medium, and every time somebody starts working on these sort of things, I really get interested to see like what are they planning to bring into it, what sort of ideas do they have, because there are some unique ideas that only comes when you have this sort of 3D environment that you can work with. And even to that point, like I'm talking to one of my friends called Farty Arty, who's also been helping me with some of the art direction. Um, they also want to do something. They also want to make a overlay, but they are more moving towards something like Paper Mario because they have very strong 2D skills. So we've been talking about, well, how can we integrate that so that we can utilize all the 2D skills you have to make an environment that looks like Paper Mario. And I find it super interesting because you can start to do very interesting things with that sort of thing.
Yep. Robot Factory
Yeah.
says, I love seeing the huge variety of VTubers, endless possibilities. True. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a huge spectrum, like plug and play. Like if I told my community if I was starting over, I'd be 2D. Just a live 2D model, just because you can just buy it, run on a low-end video card, and be perfectly happy. I don't recommend 3D unless you're in for pain, or like you said, you have a developer background.
Yeah,
And
like
you
if you
have
have a
the
developer
curiosity.
background, it's gonna be painful. If you don't have a developer background, it's just gonna be agonizing.
Mm-hmm.
As me with no developer background going into this, I have
Nice.
background now, but it's been it's been a whole lot.
Yep. Okay. All right. So you do a lot of variety on your channel. So your streams include everything from game devs to modeling to cooking and debunking MLMs. What is your favorite offbeat stream so far?
I think my favorite
Or
offbeat stream I ever did was the one that is like the most involved viewing on my VOD channel. Um, because quite a while back, I think about a year ago, this now,
Mhm.
um, I did an album listening of the three newest Queens of Stone Age albums with my friend.
Oh,
And
nice.
essentially, yeah, I love them, and they have like a huge narrative. And we talked about like the story going on behind the scenes and stuff like that. and we would listen to the songs, watch the music videos if there were some, and then we were like talking about the lyrics afterwards, and then talking back and forth. And it ended up being 7 hours for listening to 3 albums. Um,
Damn.
yeah, I was beat. I also had a good cry at one point because of what was happening behind the scenes of those albums. But yeah, it was one of those streams where I wish I could do more of them. The problem is if you go to the VOD channel, I had to censor every music video. I had to mute all the tracks, and in the description, I have links to all the original Queens of the Stone Age YouTube videos with the songs and the music, like that. So it was just a huge pain to get that mod up. So it was annoying, but it was very fun. And it's something that I'm doing with my friend now, like once a month or something. We'll meet up, and then we'll just like put on weighted blankets and listen to an album that one of us knows pretty well. And doing that on stream again at some point, that would be pretty good.
Yep. Cat Baron says, yeah, that VOD got me through the last of my degree work. It's
Hell
very
yeah.
good and worth the effort of queuing up the music alongside. I hope you all do, says Cat Baron. Yes, anytime anybody puts a weighted blanket on me, I go to sleep. And then Dark Bolt
My
says,
friend has two weighted blankets, and we tried putting both on top of me at one point, and it was like very nice. And then I was like, "Wait, oh no, falling down." Oh, no.
automatically
It
asleep.
was Valium.
Oh, yep. And then Dark Volt says, if you have a dev background and you're bracing for impact. If you have a dev background, or if you don't have a dev background, you'll find out everything hurts when developing in 3D.
Yeesh.
Yep. Yep.
So true.
Okay. You mentioned that your chat inspires you. What's one of the funniest, most chaotic moments you've caused?
Okay, so there is a couple.
Give me a couple.
I
Yeah.
think when I wrote these notes, I was doing it because Tuesday, one of the people in my chat, Korhog, who also runs a Vipo overlay, he started a bit using TTS to just referencing the American Pie song about the levee being dry, and that was absolutely losing it because there was a lot of people who just took that bit and yes anded it, so everybody started doing it, and it was just wonderful. It was just I'm very proud of my community. They are very good at doing yes ands. If I should mention the thing that took a little bit longer to die out, it actually hasn't died out. Was back in August, somebody showed me a comic strip from Heathcliff with the character Jimmy, which is a little frog that turned into a month-long obsession about that stupid little frog. Yeah, Jimmy. We got Jimmy's in chat. So it ended up being over 100 doodles like Darkbolt made 100 Jimmy doodles. And a lot of people also joined in on it. We got like 5 or 6 emotes with Jimmy in it. I have a 3D model of Jimmy that's compatible with VR, and 111 Jimmy's, right, sorry. And when I'm done with the bottles I'm making right now, I'm planning on going back to my idea of making a VR chat world that is inspired by Heathcliff. Just because somebody showed me one comic strip of Heathcliff. Yeah, that's not that's fairly normal for me, is getting obsessed to that degree.
DV,
And I would also say that's probably pretty chaotic.
DV, I want to grow up as powerful as you, says Cat Barrett.
Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, that reminds me. I think there exist 2 clips of Barry that I mentioned earlier, where they saw that emote. I was like, why is Jimmy an emote? Because one of their mods had seen Jimmy and then added into their BTTV, so suddenly Jimmy was just in the chat. And somebody, like another one in the community called Red Goblin Splasha, made a version of Jimmy called Jimmy Hams, And that one, I think, is also a clip of again Barry seeing it and be like, "What the fuck is going on?" And that made me so happy that I could just fuck with him. Let me see. I should have it in here. Let me see if I can get a little Jimmy Hams in chat. Jimmy. Yeah, there he is. Little Jimmy Hams. Oh, you can probably not see, but I can see it on my end, and it's glorious.
Jimmy Hams. Nice. Okay. If somebody joins your stream for the first time, what's the perfect moment that captures the Rene right here experience?
So I've tried to make it somewhat easy to kind of get the gist of it in a very short time, because I am aware of the fact that the kind of stream I run is not something you typically see. Just the fact that I'm working in a 3D environment can mean a lot. But if I'm focusing on other things, I might not notice that immediately. So when people raid, it has like this flying camera that shows everything, and then it travels through the overlay and gets to the screen. So that kind of shows it immediately. Then the second part is that I also have a command called tour, which is something I can put in, and then it has this like timed sequence of teleporting me through the overlay, which generally gives me an opportunity to say like, well, when you type in chat, you turn into a rat. We have these different locales. This is where I spend most of the time. The raid, when people come in with that one, usually involves a lot of glass shattering and flying around, which I find fairly chaotic. So I feel like that's generally a good indicator of like this is what you need to expect. That it's gonna get a little rowdy. And yeah, I think what I generally also feel like is a good way for people to get introduced to it is if somebody's a first time chatter, I will usually take the time to find their rat model and grab them and be like, hey, look, this is you. You're right here. Hey, shaky,
Nice.
shaky, shaky.
Yep.
That and open hostility. I don't feel like streamers should be nice to their chat.
Nice. I'll take that as advice.
You should, like, my mods are always bullying me, and I encourage it and I tell them to do it more.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of messing with the rats, I've learned that rats can fart. How did
Yes.
that become a thing?
So it's kind of the same vein as I mentioned earlier, that I saw stream avatars and I thought, okay, how can I take that and put it into my overlay and turn it into a thing? The farting rats, which is always a good way to like start your sentence, originated over on DoigSwift. So DoigSwift has a mod called Martina. Martina is wonderful. Martina is a saint, and Martina finds farts incredibly funny. So Martina managed to bully Doig into have a redeem where you just have you press the button and you get a fart sound, and that's it. And you have 20 different farts, and that's it. It ended up annoying Doig so much that he removed the feature. Martina got mad, and I said, Martina, I can take the farts. Don't worry. And Martina said, okay, fine. She sent me the sound library, and Doig got to get rid of it.
Wait, there's a whole library of farts?
Yes, a whole sound library of farts.
Damn.
And I didn't want to just recreate the same thing because that to me felt like lazy stealing, and I didn't want to do that. So I said, well, how can we kind of expand upon this? Well, I have the models of the rats. I have a connection between people who redeem and the rat models. What if whenever people redeem the fart, it would make the sound and it would make the rat propel towards me? So that was the birth of it. It was me looking at this idea and be like, how can I make it mine? It's called Free Time. No, this is a bespoke library. Don't ask me how Martina got those fart sounds. And it's a way for people. It's a way for people in chat to kind of affect my positioning a little bit, because when the rat slams into me, I do get pushed around a bit. There is a meta, which is if you do a lurk command, your rat will will no longer be affected by gravity and they'll start floating. So you use lurk, you wait a couple seconds, and then you fart because then you come flying in from some weird angle. Um,
Oh wow.
and yeah, it's just fun. It's like I just took this I took this concept that I saw somewhere else and then um took it, twisted a little bit, made it very cohesive with my overlay and the ideas of I was having, and that's generally how I like to utilize ideas I see from somewhere else.
Mhm. Yeah, Boom in the chat is a Unreal dev that has her
I know
own
Boom.
Unity.
Boom is chaotic.
Yeah,
Like I'm chaotic. Boom's chaotic.
Boom's like next level chaotic, and now she's like,
Yep.
noted. Give cats fart propulsion tech. Yep. Yep.
I fully condone this. Go ahead. It's way funnier than it should be.
It is. Yeah, like I will say, like internationally, you could take people that don't speak the same language, all put them in the same room, and then have a fart moment, and
Yes.
that fart moment is a universal language that everybody will laugh.
There is one thing I need to do, which I probably should do sooner rather than later. But if somebody redeems the fart sound without having like said anything in chat, it will not work. Because
Ah.
yeah. So you need to chat to spawn in the rat, and then using the farts would work. But I really should make it so that if you do these sort of redeems that are dependent on your model position, it really should do a check and spawn it in and then run the thing. But it's been on my list and I'm like, I keep forgetting it and I really should just fix it because it's so, I get sad every time somebody's a first time, well, not necessarily first time chatter, but if somebody I've never seen before does the fart redeem as the first thing and then they don't see anything, I was like, God damn it, I fucked up. First time farter.
First
Yeah.
step order, yep. Yep.
But yeah,
Alright.
I really should fix that.
Well, you just touched on chaos. So your community is built around chaos and creativity. What do you think makes them so special?
Um, we have a lot of people who really knows the improv concept of like yes anding. Um, like I mentioned earlier that Korhawk started the bit with the levy being dry, and then three other people were like taking that joke, reiterating it, and riffing on it.
And now they
To
can play it
everybody's amusement.
on the piano.
Yes, the pianoing too. So just having a lot of people who know how to yes and a joke makes it so easy for me to also yes and just take it further. So I don't know. I love my community. They're like stupid fun. And we pride in our entertainment capabilities. And yeah,
Nice.
so I generally try to encourage people to do like shit posts and dumb jokes, and whenever they're like, oh, I don't know, I don't think it's very good. It's like, no, it's funny. Do it. And if it's not funny, do it 3 times, and then it's automatically funny.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. You do play games on your channel and you have personal
Yeah.
interests. You play games that you love or have morbid fascination about. What game has you fascinated the most recently?
So there are two general ones.
Mhm.
Recently, I started playing a game called Hylix. Um, if you know Hylix, good on you. If you don't know Hylix, I'm not surprised. Hylix is a RPG that is made with claymation. So everything you see in the game has been made in clay and then stop motion animated, and the sprites have been recorded, and then that's the game. And another feature of it is that when you talk to NPCs, their dialogue is randomly generated, so it's always just absolute random gibberish. Um, and it's so much just a one person made this game and they had a very specific idea and they didn't let anybody tell them otherwise. Um, and I got fascinated with it because they also have a lot of like interesting like fusion psychedelic funk music in the second game. And I ended up like playing Archipelago randomizers with it. For those of you who don't know, Archipelago is when you take a game and you connect it to a server with some other games, and then you take critical items and then you shuffle it between the games. So you can play Dark Souls and unlock the ability to do a double jump for Mario 64.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and I did that for Hylics, and I did it 2 times in a row, and I ended up meeting the world record holder for the speed run of Hylics 2, and he was teaching me some tricks. So that also helped in being like very fascinated with the game. And the other branch would be a game studio called Strange Scaffold, that produces a lot of games, and they're generally relatively short but extremely impactful. I was having a lot of fun with I Am Your Beast. Um, but yeah, like it's hard to explain because they take a game, they take a concept, and they make a relatively short game, like a 4 or 8 hour experience, and they just make a very good product, and then they make a new game, and it's like, whoa, good shit. And I need to go back and just play through all of their games because they always have interesting ideas.
Yeah, Baron says strange scaffold.
Yes, Strange Scaffold, very good, very good.
Okay. Any games you'd love to mod or integrate into your theater setup in the future?
So I have this long-term project, which we have actually hit a new incentive for, but I'm working on doing character modding for Yakuza 0,
Oh, nice.
turning every critical NPC into a rat or a ratified human. Um,
That's cool.
it's already like semi incomprehensible. Every time there is a cutscene, there's like 2 or 3 big rat men, and it's like this is so good. The only 2 people I don't want is the main characters Kiryu and Majima, because I need there to be just a resemblance of normalcy, and then everything around them should be insane. Um, so that is my current long-term project. There's been some other games I've been considering modding. I've also modded Resident Evil 2.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, I took Mr. X and I replaced him with my model, so I was having fun.
Oh,
Just
that's hilarious.
yeah, it was good. It was one of my I had so much fun with that stream, and I learned a lot of things there. But just having the cutscene of Mr. X removing debris and then start walking towards you, but it being my model just scowling towards me and then beat the shit out of Leon. It was very good. I need to see it's on the VOD channel. I can see if I can find it, but there's also a clip of it. Um, which is
Nice.
it's good. Yeah, I would recommend anybody who has a 3D model and know like the concept of doing character swaps, go in games and just start messing with it. It's so good.
Need to mod a cat into every game I play.
Mm-hmm.
Blue on the run says I need to see that. I'll dig through the VODs. Nice.
Yep.
And then Dark Vault says when the pre-rendered cutscenes switch into in-game cutscenes, it's such whiplash.
Yeah, because there are some cutscenes. There are very few cutscenes in Yakuza 0 that are fully pre-rendered, which means that no matter how much I mod them, it doesn't work because they're like hard stored. But the good thing about Yakuza 0 is that a lot of the cutscenes are in-game. They're in-engine, so you can change them and it will appear up in the cutscene, and you just, there is Kuze, one of the main antagonists, who is about to fight you, and he's also a big rat with tattoos. It's great, wonderful.
Yep. All right, and then if you could collaborate with any other creator, VTuber or otherwise, who would your dream collab be?
So, I mentioned Barry a couple of times. I think it could be fun. I think one of the main issues is time zones, which is why I'm not really trying to push it so much. And then, and that's just because I've been watching Barry stuff for a while, and I find him fun and interesting. The other one, which is a very recent discovery of mine, is actually one of the founding advisors too for the VTuber Club, which is Pomato Master. And that's because Pomato got a scientific background, and I also do. So I think there could be something interesting to do there. And that would be fun. Like I generally I don't I mostly collab with my friends.
Mm,
And by collabing I mean I play games with them and then do dumb shit with them. Um,
nice.
like being
That's
voices for other people. So I don't really think about collaborating with big content creators.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, when posed the question, that's probably what I could consider being like interesting.
Draco helps. Mm,
Hello, Deco.
okay. Wait, you're a smarty pants? You have a smarty background?
Yeah, so I'll tell you with the next question, but it's not something I generally talk about because it's
Mm,
not something that really fits in with the rest of what I do here. But it doesn't really come naturally. It comes up sometimes, but I do have a doctorate in molecular biology, so I have a full on PhD, and I work as an academic research scientist as a day job at a university, and then I do this shit posting shit giggles in the mean like in my spare time.
what the
Um,
fuck? So the next question was, what's one fact about you that your community might not know? And you're saying that you're a smarty pants doctor, McPants, that does microbiology stuffs?
Yeah, I have a doctorate. Um, but again, like people who've been around for a while, they have heard it and they know. But I will say, generally, when I post this to people who don't know, that is the reaction I get. It's like what?
Mm,
Um, but yeah, like it came to play like a while back because I did a stream where I had been looking into, um, I've been finding the names of various MLM schemes or uh, things that seem to be LMM schemes like on the surface, and then I started digging into it to figure out like what is the scientific background in what they're saying. Yeah, see, Blue didn't know that.
mm-hmm.
Blue's been around for a while. Secret
Yeah,
safe with us. My secret is poorly kept. But
yep,
yeah, so I went through the scientific like background on some of these firms. Here's the thing: none of them passed the stink test.
yep, yep, that's believable.
One of them was my favorite because they had their homepage and they had like this is our scientific area. I clicked on it and nothing happened. It's like, oh, that's weird. I clicked on one of the other things and it went straight like it was a hyperlink going to a different place. And then I went back and I realized their link to their scientific like backing of what they did was a JPEG. And I was losing my shit.
Wait, which MLM was that?
I don't remember, but
Mm,
if you in chat now are considering buying into something and you don't know if it's an MLM, just send me some details, give me the name of the thing, give me like 30 minutes, and I can tell you if it's bullshit.
mm. Okay, what about like, what is it, LuLaRoe or whatever? Did you go down that one?
Doesn't ring a bell.
That's like the yoga pants that come in different colors or whatever, I think.
I
What about
mean,
Cutco or the knives? Did you go down that one?
no, I was generally going for like, I think I had a couple of aging creams and stuff like that. They're like, oh yeah, this
Mm.
is scientifically proven to do this and that. And then I went through and I was like, no, it doesn't.
You're like, I've got a molecular biology degree, and I can tell you that's just horseshit. Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
like the idea arose because one of his friends, his mother, so friend's mother,
Mhm.
was about to go into this sort of thing, and he needed somebody to be like, hey Rene, you're smart, can you help me here? And I did spend like 30-45 minutes just going through it and like going through their proposed like scientific background and figure out like there's nothing here. So I wrote
Mhm.
back an answer to him to be like, hey,
The
there
vaporware.
is no evidence here. This seems like a scam. And it was yeah. So
Mm.
that was where the idea rose. And then I just found a list of or I did a little bit of pre-research. I didn't go too much into it before stream because I wanted to be surprised. I legitimately hoped that there would be some papers with some graphs I could look at and talk about, but most of them had nothing.
Nothing.
Like I think it was not until I got to like the fourth on my list of 5 that I actually found a graph I could look at. Most of them had nothing. So it's fairly easy to debunk it. You just have to look at their like, this is our scientific background, and if it's a JPEG, they're lying to you.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I have a doctorate.
Nice.
If anybody calls me doctor on stream, I banned them on site. Like, I don't
Oh
want that
shit.
Well, probably more like a timeout. Like it's again, as I mentioned, it doesn't come up often because nothing in my stream aesthetic screams PhD. And if people think like, oh, you're super smart, you have a PhD, then it kind of ruins a lot of my jokes because I like to pretend I'm dumber than I am.
I'd
For
like to
entertainment.
believe people with PhDs are just really smart in a very narrow, select
Oh, yeah, for sure.
window of knowledge. Yeah. And then dumb when it comes to everything else, because they threw away all that extra brain power to focus on that one thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dark World is also. This is also the main reason. I like being on stream and just being free to do whatever I want. And I don't want that pressure of being like, you're supposed to be smart. You're supposed to know all these things. Like, no, I'm specialized. It's different.
Yeah, like I had conversed with somebody that had a PhD in being a linguist or whatever. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you are good with language, but
You are very specialized.
but you don't understand how taxes work.
Hey, taxes is
Interesting.
confusing.
Very valid. Nice, Blue. Nice. Okay. Alright, let's talk about your game development and Unity journey. You mentioned that when you started, you basically had no experience with 3D modeling or coding. What was the first thing you learned deving into Unity?
This is gonna sound boring, but one of the first things I had to figure out with Unity was my preferred way of importing assets and maintaining links, because after working for a bit, I realized that my preferred workflow is that I make it in Blender, I port it into Unity, I find like 10 things I need to fix, and then I would like to go back into Blender, fix it, and then re-import it. But when I did that in my first overlay, I did something wrong in the beginning, and I kept losing the like import connection to my main model, which means that my character model, which is the most complex thing in my whole overlay, I had to like apply all the scripts and parameters like 5 times. So I have that fixed now and have a very good workflow, but it took me some painful days of having to apply. Like the lip syncing that I do means that I need to calibrate it, and I had to do that like 5 times in my previous model. I've only done it once on this one so far.
That's weird that you had to cal it, considering you have no tracking.
Well, it has to calibrate based on the audio, so it needs to know when I speak how does my A sounds sound like. So it's audio calibration essentially.
Oh wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. Okay. All right, next question. Why did you choose Unity as an engine for the Curse Theater? Did you consider any alternatives?
Yeah, so when I started, that was before Godot had like a bigger breakthrough. I think it was in Godot 2.0 back then, or 2 point something. So in my mind, it was between Unity and Unreal. And I had placed myself in a community where there was a lot of people who knew Unity. So it became a pretty obvious choice because I knew I would need help at some point. So it also seemed like for what I wanted to do. Like I needed to run something fairly lightweight in my overlay because I knew I would also sometimes need to like run a game at the same time and run OBS. So I couldn't have something with like high visual fidelity and insane stuff like that. So I ended up picking Unity because it seemed to be easier to make something low fidelity. I did have the weaker PC back then, so it ended up being because it seemed that it would be easier for me to do running it, but also having help from people to teach me how to code stuff.
Yes.
So yeah.
So the communities you were part of were already utilizing Unity, and then
Yeah. So one of the people that I also mentioned before, Pilkey, essentially coded a wrapping library for all the Twitch events. So basically, Twitch needs to be sent to Unity somehow, and that goes through, at least for me, it goes through something called Twitch Mata that Pilkey wrote, and it makes the coding way more simplistic. So a lot of like inbuilt features are condensed down to single function. So it makes more sense. And he did it all in C#. So I was like, I'm gonna do it in Unity because then I can get help.
nice. Yeah, Boom, who's Unreal, said you could have learned spaghetti.
There is I've learned that there is like a visual coder for Unity. I just haven't really messed around with it, so I could make spaghetti in Unity.
Yeah,
If I wanted to redo my whole coding, which not gonna fucking happen.
Yep, not gonna happen. Also, like, it's good to have variety in the game engine market, because if they ever become like a duopoly or like a, monopoly, forget it. Then we're fucked as gamers.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah. That's also what, as I mentioned, like back when I was making that decision, it was between Unity and Unreal because I heard Godot, but I was like, it seems like it's I don't know, it seems like it's not really done yet. Godot has made like huge leaps, and the Twitch Mata also works for Godot now. So if I were to start now, Godot would seriously be on the consideration table because of the little poo-poo PR nightmare that Unity went through like a year back, where they wanted everybody to give them all their money, and everybody's like, no, ew, why? Stop. Mind your business.
Yeah, Darkbolt said it was before Unity put their foot in their mouth. True, Darkbolt.
Yeah.
I mean,
they realized they couldn't get away with it, so now they're waiting for a day where they can get away with it.
If it were Unreal, I could have helped a bit more, at least with this setting up models, says Darkbolt.
Yeah, I also know, but it would have been the coding that would have been the biggest issue.
Yep. Which, as you know, this cat's in Unreal. I'm part of Team Unreal VTubers.
Ish.
Yep.
We can still coexist.
We can.
For now.
We can. Well, we're still part of the minority, dude. Like.
Yeah,
we're 3D.
We don't need internal strife.
Yeah, we don't need internal strife because we're already like hated as 3D as opposed to 2D.
We're like 12 people.
Yes. Yeah, I think custom Unity projects, I've only interviewed one other streamer that has a custom Unity project, and that is Mizuki. If you don't know Mizuki.
I actually don't.
If it flies at fries, yeah, I'll shout them out later and you can check them out.
Hell yeah.
What's going on if it flies at fries? Okay.
I can't steal shit. Yeah, listen, Boom, we can talk ideas, but I can't give you code because I'm sorry, it can't work. But we can talk ideas. Listen, cat propulsion fart technology, grab it.
What were some of the biggest technical hurdles in creating your interactive streaming environment? Any moments where you almost scratched the idea or scrapped it?
We touch upon it a couple of times, but it was the technical hurdle that was optimization. At some point, and that's also one of the reasons why I moved over to a 2.0 or like started working on 2.0, was because I knew that if I were to optimize, I would need to basically like go ground up. And then I thought, well, I might as well just implement the fact that I've gotten better at 3D modeling in between. So I might as well just do a full on 2D, like 2.0. Um, and then that was when I took the time to kind of like refactor a bunch of stuff. So yeah, so having this overlay running, sometimes running specific games become a problem. Like for example, even with the new PC I have right now, I still decided that I wanted to have Monster Hunter Wilds on console because I would worry that it would become a problem because I'm scarred a, from for years of doing this overlay thing. Um, I will say I don't feel like there's ever been a point where I had to scrap an idea. I never wanted to scrap the overlay. Like I've invested too much time into this one. I'm full
Mhm.
on the sunk cost fallacy on this one. Um, and I don't think there's any like games I avoided because generally when it's between streaming and the game and my overlay, where one of them have to be shut down, it's not going to be OBS because I need to stream. It's not going to be the game because that's what I want to play.
Mhm.
So sometimes well, in the previous 1.0 model, I would sometimes just turn off the overlay and be like, well, I can't have the overlay running today. That's just not going to happen. And I really want to play Remnant. So
Mhm.
that would be the thing.
Mm. Yeah, having a GPU that can handle. Yep. I will say that
Yeah.
that's a common theme between you and Fruitsy, which like I actually envy Fruitsy because
Hmm.
Fruitsy's project is very optimized in the sense that it has a very I want to say like GameCube feel in a GameCube
Hmm.
graphics era, and it looks amazing. Like, and they specifically have their project to be optimized around that.
Yeah.
Which optimization is huge because like I've tried to do stuff in my project, and just because like I'm like, hey, it's Unreal Engine, I can do all kinds of cool heavy stuff, and then like yeah, I want to do ray tracing, and I originally started with a 2080. Like that's not
Hmm.
possible. I couldn't do
Yeah.
reflections, I couldn't do mirrors, even though that was an Unreal, you know, technology at the time. So no, I actually envy a lot of the devs that start with lower end GPUs because it starts them thinking about optimization from square one. Whereas
Hmm.
I did it the wrong way, where I started doing cool shit and then had to reverse into optimization. Um,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that is also what happened to me. I started not optimizing stuff, and then I was like, wait, it can't run shit. Okay, and then 2.0 got very optimized.
mm,
So yeah, that's also why I'm like, I'm happy that I started with a low end PC because it has forced me to be like, I need to make sure that this is running in a sensible way.
hmm.
Because I am going to build an overhead, and at some
Hey,
point it's
what's
going
up,
to be a
Funners?
problem. But I want to push that so far down the line.
Yeah, Dark Vault says the rats originally had so many polygons.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I've cut the rat polygon by like a third or something. So they're like a third of what they usually was. Also, my
Mm,
character model, I actually think my character model has way less polygons than my 1.0, but it looks way better because I got better and I got some people help with some character design and I got a friend to like look over the topology. So for example, like the simple thing I learned is that well, you need to have polygons in areas that you need to have focus on. So and that was actually Risto who taught me that. So the polygons around my mouth is way higher, but as soon as you get in between my eyes, the polygon count just drops to a third of it because I don't need
mm,
specific movement happening between my eyes, for example. Like most of
mm.
my head is pretty simple, but around the mouth there is way more polygons because I need to move it around a bit and you need to see like a little bit of the lip curl coming in and stuff like that.
Mm,
But in general, like the it's way more optimized.
nice. Okay. Um, how do you approach integrating your Twitch chat into your overlay? Was that one of the harder parts of development?
Uh, yes, definitely. So I mentioned before, Pilkey has been a huge part of making my overlay work, and I know a lot. I know owe a lot to him. He made this wrapper for Twitchmata. It now works for both Unity and Godot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pilgi sadly passed away earlier this year. So It has been taken up by me and one of my mods, Dizzy, of maintaining the Twitch Mata library. It's mainly Dizzy. Dizzy does the coding. I'm the test dummy. So whenever we need to make sure things works, it usually my overlay breaks first. Um, so yeah, so that's it's been nice that we managed to like keep it alive after Pilkey sadly passed away. Um, so more philosophy wise, I also touched upon this before. I want to make sure that the chatters who get a rat model that they have the most autonomy over their models. You know, they can place themselves in front of me by farting. They can teleport around the overlay by using specific commands. So there's like this push and pull happening, and you know, I like there being some sort of dynamic coming in. So that's how I like to integrate these sort of things. And yeah, I mentioned before, the whole rat spawning logic is the most complex about my overlay. I think it's spanning like 6 or 7 scripts because I need to keep track of their names and their positions and all the commands they do and animations and I'm just adding more and more into it. So it is definitely the most complex thing. But I've tried to make the scripts so they're fairly modular. So whenever I need to add a new thing, I usually just look at the scripts for like 5 minutes and like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, this is where I need to put it in, and then beep bop 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 beep bop bop, and then it works fine. So it was designed pretty well from the beginning, and I'm very happy about that.
Mm. Very cool. Very cool. Do you have any favorite tools, plugins, or assets that made your work in Unity easier?
So the one is the Hikomi lip sync that I mentioned. The other one is Cinemachine, which is just a way easier way to handle cameras and dynamic camera movement. Um, I do want to mess around with a bit more, but those are definitely the two. Like if you're doing any sort of work in Unity, I would say Cinemachine for camera work is pretty up there as things that you probably want to use. Uh, and then the lip sync is very specific for my model. But I'm assuming like if you're making a game and you want your characters to move and you don't want to spend a lot of time like lip syncing and you don't want the Hikomi lip sync is a fairly easy way to integrate that sort of stuff.
Call me lip sync. Nice.
Mhm.
All right. The curse.
I think it's you lip sync by Hikomi.
All right.
Yes, Machine is super important.
The Cursed Theater is a living project that evolves over time. How do you balance development with keeping the experience fun for viewers?
So I try to keep backend stuff off stream. So things like character controllers and light baking. I like to keep that sort of thing off stream because that's a lot of like fiddling with numbers and then doing a little bit of testing and be like, that's bad. Specifically the light baking because I haven't done light baking on my new PC. That's still inherited from the old PC. But when I tried to do light baking on the overlay, it would take about 14 hours.
Oh wow!
So yeah, I put that shit on and then I went to bed.
Yeah, moving one object and then baking it all over again. Oh boy.
Yeah. So that's not like, and also the reason why I had like major reason why I had to leave it over was that it didn't just take 14 hours. It took 14 hours where my PC was just occupado. Like I couldn't do other things on it. So that would be very bad stream wise because it would just be a slideshow and it would be horrible. So I don't do that sort of stuff. So I generally try to keep the things I work on for stream, try to keep that user guided. So that would be, for example, like essentially it lets people see the toys that they will get be made. So it's been a lot of like modeling rats because I have a redeem. I've changed how it works now, but I have a redeem where people can cash in a lot of points and then they can get a custom rat model. I think we saw Moldrum earlier, which was basically me learning how to use shaders in a different way. Darkbolt also has a custom model, but Darkbolt made their own model, and then I just patched it in. So those are like the two lower cases, but I think I have about 15 or something custom rat models now for people who've been in the community for a while. But yeah, so generally I like to keep it to be things that people in chat will end up playing with at some point.
Nice.
And
Nice.
then it's also nice to be like, oh yeah, like the bottle Rene is working on right now, that was designed by Fardiardi. And it's like, oh cool. Yeah, I know that guy. Yeah.
Okay. If you had unlimited resources and time, what dream feature would you love to add to the theater?
Online multiplayer.
Oh wow.
If I could make it so that people could log in and control their rats in a one-to-one basis, that would be the dream. But that's difficult.
Yeah, that's
and takes a
difficult as
lot of
hell.
time. But yeah, like if unlimited time, unlimited resources, people to help me, people to work with it, online multiplayer for sure. Just the idea of trying to stream a game and just having little rats run around up on the stage and like jumping up and doing stuff, it would be so amazing. It would be unwatchable, but it would be so fucking funny.
Yep.
So yeah, that would be the thing, and I think everybody who has this sort of like 3D overlay, that is, thank you for the follow, would be like the dream goal, because it just gives this interactivity that is basically unheard of.
Yep. Well, let me do a plug real quick. So I'm using a product called the Micoverse. Have you heard of the Micoverse?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so if you can make any of your models into a VRM, you can be interactive this within this app. So currently, I am in a map that a streamer by the name of Extra Pip is live currently, and I'm in that map with them. And I also have an AI with me, and you can move around, hang out, uh, dance, do different animations and different things. So it has that streamer slash community connectivity available. Users can't. You can build custom maps, but you have to use the existing infrastructure and assets that's within the library. You can't like import your own, but it is a way for community members to hang out. So
That is a good point, but God, it would need to be in the overlay. But there's like so many other things I need to fix first. Like for example, the way my gravity system works means that if I walk out of the asteroid, I just fall forever.
nice.
But one of the things I want to do in the near future is to see if I can figure out essentially a Mario Galaxy-esque gravity system where I'll just stick to the rock, for example.
Mm.
Because that would also mean that if I ended up getting into multiplayer, then rats can't just run off the rock and then be mad at like, I'm falling forever. I was like, well, you walked off the cliff, so that's on you.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things I want to do before that, but with the unlimited time and the fantasies, it would be a fully featured online multiplayer within my overlay.
That would be cool.
I think if that happened, I would probably stop having development days, and they would just be like fuck around days. Like that's just come in. Let's figure out what we can do. Can we coordinate so everybody like stands on one side of the stage and runs to the other side? Like that sort of thing would be what I would then do. Just coordinating people to do stuff.
I got you.
Yeah.
Are there any other Unity-based projects or experimental features you're working on outside of your stream environment?
No. I'm I'm only working on things that is related to the overlay, and that is just purely for the fact that I have a job. I have limited spare time, and I tend to not work on the overlay like for longer periods of time. For example, during December, I changed every regular streaming day into a development day, and by the end of the month I was going insane. I just needed to play video games to kind of relax. So I like, even like, I can't turn myself into a development streamer. Like, I wouldn't, that would be too much for me. So everything I do is based on that. I had been planning, because quite a while ago I bought a humble bundle for GameDev.tv for a bunch of courses for making some specific type of games.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love if I could go back to that and then make those games, and then basically change the features, or taking those features and putting it into the overlay in some capacity.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's talk about your community and content evolution. How would you describe your community in 3 words?
So creative is the big one. We have
Creative.
a bunch of people who are either skilled 2D artists or 3D artists, or in any sort of other feature, or I would even say like comedic people who know how to construct a joke. I would also consider them in the creative bandwagon. Um, they're incredibly kind, which would be the second word.
Creative,
We have a
kind.
bunch of like random community events, and people show up, and people are just nice and kind and helpful. And if somebody starts streaming, there is immediately an influx of people from the community who try to like make sure that it becomes like a nice environment, chat with the streamer and stuff like that. So incredibly kind. And there's a bunch of gremlins, but that is because I encouraged them to be scamping gremlins.
Creative,
Um,
kind, gremlins. Nice. Nice.
yep. I don't know if links are allowed. I know Blue is a very skilled artist and a gremlin and kind. And the same with Darkhold. And actually, you know what? I have an image which was based off of the Yakuza game. Darkhold, am I okay to share the sicko snap thing? Um because Darkhold made a doodle based on a minigame in the Majima Pirate Yakuza game. And I'll just post a link. Wait, I can post in my chat. Then that's actually a good question. If I post a link and your chat bans links, I don't know. I'll try. I'll put
I
it in
think it should
here.
be
So
fun.
Darkvolt made this image, which is just wonderfully looking at, and it made me giggle for like a good solid 20 seconds. And Darkvolt also made a fan art for Dark Swift where I was sneakily in the background as part of a painting, and it was very good. This content's no longer available, but I'm looking at it right here. That's disgusting. Wait, what if I do? Can I do? Can I do? What if I have it in here? But yeah, okay. So in yours is probably cached. Discord links. Okay, I posted it in our call.
Yep. Which
So you
it's
can at
okay.
least see it.
No, I can show it to the community. I just have to turn off our call for a moment.
Well, bye.
There we go. So it's yes, ha ha ha, yes. Okay. So
I,
this is a community art.
it's a little community doodle. It's based on a meme that also exists, which is just called the sicko meme of a guy in the similar art style, just outside of a window saying, yes, yes. And it's because there's a mini game where you need to take pictures of very burly men in leather g-strings, and it just turned into this thing, and it makes me so happy.
Mm. Oh, that's right, because you
Dark,
do the Pirate Yakuza game. That's right. I forgot about that.
yes,
I watched it on your
yeah.
stream.
Mhm.
I haven't gotten there yet, but
Mhm, mhm,
in my playthrough, but I saw it in yours.
mhm. Yeah, Darkvold is extremely skilled at taking an art style and then adapting it and turning it into slightly his own.
Mm.
He's very skilled.
Mm.
He's also made a couple of my Fugis,
Nice.
based off the. There's a YouTuber called Terminal Montage who has a very unique scrungly style,
Mm-hmm.
and I have two Fugis based on that, which I adore so much.
Okay. And then what is one of your most memorable moments you had with your viewers?
So that would be back in December. So as I mentioned, and not to bring back sad tones, but friend Pilkey was terminally ill, and we decided, a larger part of the community, to organize a charity event for like a week straight. And we managed to raise 10,000 British pounds during the course of that week by
Huge.
streaming and like encouraging people to donate. And then after the last active charity stream, I hosted an after party where, we were done, we did it. And having an after party where I was playing Fuser. If you know the game,
Mm.
it's a DJ sim game, but you can mod it, so you can put in a lot of songs. And just having like 2 hours playing a couple of DJ sets that you're like mixing on the fly, as a part of wrapping up a very emotional week.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna remember that many years past.
Damn, that was
It was
fun.
fun.
Says
It was. It
Darko.
was.
Oh, you're also a DJ.
I play Fuser, but I've apparently heard that I'm fairly good at it.
Mm.
One of my other friends were talking, like, it's one of those cases, like, I don't know if I'm good at it. I just play it, and then I try to make it sound good. But they said that I had a good hang for it, so it's like, yay. And I have plans that I want to play more Fuser streams, but I've also told my chat that I'm not playing Fuser streams before I'm partner, to to incentivize them. So maybe one day. But yeah, Fuser is extremely fun, and there's a huge community that mods songs in, and it's very fun. You can't really acquire the game anymore because it's got
Hmm.
deplatformed, because music licensing businesses are very
Yep.
rough. So you need to get it through some means. I'm in a Steam family, so I got it that way. But yeah, it's not easy to get that game, but it's very good.
Very cool. How has your content changed since you first started streaming?
Honestly, it's not really changed. I very early on like had this idea of having a schedule where I have one day of creative work, 2 days of entertaining games. I had a period where I had like 3 game streams, but that became like too much for me, like
Hmm.
trying to make everything hang together. Um, and so that's always been my schedule, or at least for most time of it. And when it comes to picking games, I I I don't really go for trends. I generally pick games I know I can be excited about. Sometimes it ends up being games that are newly released, and other times it's an obscure PS2 title that I'm playing like 2 times in the course of a month because I want to play it, and you just sit and watch because I love this place. It's Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter, if anybody's curious. I love that game. Um, but in general, like, longer JRPGs worry me because streaming the same thing for too long, it gives viewer fatigue. Like,
Yep.
everybody who streams that for like the same thing for a while will notice. Um, and sometimes I just need to look at that and be like, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna stream Final Fantasy Rebirth 5 times a week, 10 hours at a time, because the game's huge, and I just want to play it, and I don't care about numbers anymore. I just want to play that game, and that's always been the case.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's kind of how it's been, and I think that's probably also how it's gonna stay. Like, I'm gonna, if I have a stupid idea, I'm gonna do it. If I want to play a long running series, I want to play a long running series because I know I will stay excited about it. I'm kind of in a pickle right now because I want to play Monster Hunter, but I'm a little worried about Monster Hunter as viewing content because, first of
Hmm.
all, there's a lot of people streaming it right now, so the numbers are just bad in general
It's
when it comes to that.
saturated. Yep.
The second thing is that it ends up being a lot of the same thing. Like, you go out, you beat up a monster, you come back in, go out, beat up a monster, come back in. So I think what I want to focus there on is trying to get some of my friends in so we can just talk shit at the same time. But yeah, so those are the things I've always considered
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to what sort of things I stream.
Yeah. I generally get 2, and then 3 is stretching it. Streams
Hmm.
out of a game before my community's bored. Like,
Yeah,
like if you're exclusively a Fortnite streamer, then yeah, people that's all they want to see. But
yeah.
as a
Then it's the
variety,
other way around. If you stick away from the formula, that's when people drop
yep,
out.
yep.
And I've just made myself, well, I'm a variety streamer. I do a variety of stuff. So
Mm,
when I look at my bots and be like, I've streamed this game 7 times now, I need to get it wrapped up.
yep, yep. Okay. Has there been any unexpected aspects of streaming that you've grown to love?
um, the thing I never expected would be like one of the things I enjoyed the most was trying to help other channels grow. Um,
Mm,
I kind of should have seen it coming. I have a background in doing like volunteer community work, which I was on a break for a while while I was at uni. Um, but yeah, no, like when I started, it was 4 agonizing months before I became affiliate. And now, whenever somebody in the community starts streaming, the only thing holding them back from affiliate is the fact that they need to have a certain amount of streams before they can become affiliate, and
yep.
that's
In
always
a
the
month. Yep.
limiting factor.
Mm-hmm.
Like average view count, follower count, that's nothing. That gets smashed in like 2 days.
Nice.
Um, yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful that I have attracted so many supportive people.
Yeah, it's building communities that spin off of your community, which I've done the same, and I will say
Hmm.
it's hard to find that on Twitch
Yeah.
because a lot of communities are cutthroat or try to like when you do that, sometimes that takes viewers away from your community.
Hmm.
And if
Yeah, that's the
it's
thing. I've heard about that, but I never really see it because
mm,
I cater what I watch and what communities I watch. So if I sense that's the vibe in a stream, I'm just immediately like, I think I need to be somewhere else. Um, but
mm,
yeah, that's also why it's been interesting to get the role as like a advisor for the VTuber creator camp because it essentially means that I need to figure out how to do this on a larger scale. Like how can we foster this sort of like communal cooperativity, lifting people up together and improving people's like skills as a whole instead of being like we need to slash all the bad ones and so only the
mm,
good ones can survive. Like I hate that sort of mentality
yep.
because there's 24 hours in a day and viewer bases will be like I my viewer base is I think 60% American, even though I am in the middle of Europe. But that's because I stream in the evening. But that also means that I have some European people, which means that time so wise, I'm spending quite a bit. But I can't stream for them all the time. So we need to push people around to be like,
Hmm.
well, I'm not going to stream this time, but you need to watch these people because they're very cool and they're certified good beans. And doing that sort of like guiding people around to people who will take care of them and entertain them or provide whatever they need for them. That's kind of the communal role. I feel like it's not
Yep.
something I generally vocalize. Like a lot of what I do is like in my head, and then I try to act upon it. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I like to create these sort of like larger communal spaces, and trying to do that with the backing of Twitch is terrifying, but also it's an interesting problem to tackle.
Yep, and then my community member, if it flies a fries, is calling me out because I played 5 hearts under one roof at least 4 different streams. Have you seen that game? Have you played the game?
Scandal. It's the FMV, right?
FMV? What does that stand
Full
for?
motion video game.
No, no,
No? Hmm.
no. 5 hearts under one roof is a Korean dating sim.
Isn't it using like real footage?
Yeah, it's using real footage.
Yes, that's an FMV.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
thought it
I've
was
seen some
like
other
10.
people stream it,
No,
and I
it
was like,
was 4. It was like 4. But I had to, like, for me, I was like, I'm a completionist, and then I'm like, nah, I must unlock every story, every love potential.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, if the story is good, it's like, listen, you shut up. I'm doing this for me. You can leave. This is not for you. This is for me. I need to unlock this. Leave me alone.
yeah, that was one game that I was shocked the viewership didn't go down, and I think I know why, but yes, it definitely it had content if you know what I'm talking about. So,
I think I saw it. I was like, God, it could be funny to stream this, but I got away from the idea. But
hmm
if we, I would, God, I would rip that game to shreds. Positive.
if you could give day one advice, uh, any advice, what would it be as far as being a streamer? Day one.
Day one. Remember to have fun. It's stupid. It's simple, but every time I've been like having a bad time streaming is whenever I was like, oh, my numbers. And whenever I've been trying to talk to people who was like having issues streaming, and I hear that they're talking about numbers, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, yeah. Step one is that whenever you want to think about why you're streaming and what you're streaming, if you're saying words like algorithm and that, you're kind of in the wrong. You should always take the word algorithm and just replace it with audience. Like, you need to know who are the people I'm streaming for, what sort of
Mm-hmm.
things can I do for these people. Like, you shouldn't do anything for the algorithm, you should do something for people, and that's how you create a nice environment. It means that you probably won't get 3,000 viewers, but I would rather have 30 top of the list, the best chatters that are funny and interactive and caring, rather than 3,000. Like, that's for sure. Like, I would
Mm-hmm.
always do that. And that only comes when you try to think of people in chat as viewers and not numbers.
You'd be surprised how easy it is to forget that, says Blue on the
It
Run.
is.
True. It is very,
It is.
like, people just expect upward momentum nonstop, and that's not how it operates on Twitch unless you have a good contact or,
Yeah.
you can essentially clout chase or get somebody to bring you up.
Hmm.
Um,
And
but
that's like, again, even that's not sustainable growth. Like, if you don't
mhm,
have the sense of caring for your community, you can get a boost for a while, but then everybody who comes in there, they're people, and if you don't care for them, they will leave.
mhm,
You are attractive. Um, so yeah, I'm. That is essentially it. Just have fun. You're doing it for fun. You're not doing it because you can make a living off of this. Because I'm living in a country with a pretty high taxation rate, so I would never be able to live from this unless I was like having like
yep,
stupid numbers. So I can't live off it. So I might as
mhm,
well have fun.
yep, just have fun with it, yep.
Yep.
All right, what is your favorite thing about Twitch, and what is something you think Twitch could improve?
Um. So I mean, we're kind of in the talk now, but my favorite part about Twitch as like a video content creation platform is the community aspect. Um, if you go to YouTube, there's not the same sort of community
Mhm,
aspect, but it's more of a polished product that's being delivered, and then you take that product and use it. I watch a lot of YouTube, so it's good, but I have seen YouTube chats and they are not interesting. Um, but that's not the case on Twitch because there is this sort of like focus on live content. So you have people coming in to watch it, and then you end up having regulars, and
mhm,
that's just something that Twitch as a platform has created, and you know pretty well succeeded in creating this community based platform. Um,
mhm,
and where I think Twitch can improve, if you had asked me like 2 months back, I would have been having way more gripes about it. But becoming a founder means that I've had like becoming an advisor means that I've had a bit more chance to look at what's happening and also know some of the staff and what they are struggling with.
mhm,
Um, and what I've been seeing is that they do they do their best to listen when people are being vocal about stuff. I think one of the best cases I've seen like the last couple of months is that during Christmas time, um, Twitch had this AI generated emote, which is like, you have a platform with so many emote artists and you couldn't just pick one of them. It's like it's
Yep.
just stupid. But then during Valentine's, there were several like themed emotes, which was made by video game Shay. I think it was four in total. And then actually, I think it was yesterday we got a new emote, a new global emote by Emmy Sometimes called "We Did That," because of Women's International Day, and that emote is very good.
Hmm.
It's like actually let me post it in because it's so good. It's one of my favorite type of emotes that are very versatile in that you can combine them with other emotes and you can just get a lot of like different energies from it. Um, um, yeah, and also like again, if you'd asked me a couple of months back, I would also say like, well, Twitch wants to earn money, so most of what they do cater to big streamers. But then they expanded the creator camps, which is specifically for trying to help lift up smaller streamers. Like even like when you look at it, most I actually think all of the founding advisors, none of them are above like none of them are like the super big streamers. I don't think any of them have over average view count of 600 or something, which it's big, but it's not stupid large. So that's like they're trying to get people in different ranges of community sizes to come in and kind of advise on this, and that kind of helps getting that stuff running. Um,
Hmm.
there's one thing I really would love to do. I would love if Twitch just got a Blue Sky account because they don't have, and they just post on Twitter, and I'm not in there, and I don't wanna. But just make a Blue Sky account, please.
Point taken. Point taken. How do you feel about the current state of Twitch VTuber and creative communities?
So there's a lot of people in the VTuber
It's a lot.
and also the creative people, creative communities. There's a lot. So there's clearly a lot of interest in being a VTuber, which depends on like who you ask, like why they do it. For me personally, it's because I feel like it's the best way to have like a creative or like full creative control of what sort of visual representation you have. Um, like for example, you're representing yourself as a cat. You couldn't do that with a video cam, or it would be very difficult to convince people that you're a cat. But as a VTuber, you can be like, yeah, I'm representing myself as a cat. That's what I do, and you know what? Yeah, that's great. Um, so having that issue of having a lot of people, well, not an issue, but we have a lot of people, they want to be VTubers. um if going on like a larger scale of it, of like how Twitch's VTuber community is dealing, like happening right now, um there's a lot of misconceptions and animosity towards VTubers. I've learned. Again, I don't really travel in those communities, so it's something I have to like hear from other people. So knowing that there is this amount of like online, essentially bullying towards
Hmm.
larger VTubers, it has, at least personally, I feel like it's been great to see some of these biggest non-VTubers streamers kind of showcasing VTuber models um, of themselves to kind of demystify and normalize this idea of using a VTuber. I think like Ludwig had a VTuber recently, and Kaisenat also had a VTuber together with Iron Mouse. Um, so seeing that sort of these larger content creators kind of pushing back on this sort of animosity towards VTubers has been nice.
That
Um,
is nice.
and, yeah, that is extremely nice. And also, I think it was Sea Dog who had a video about like his conversations with Iron Mouse about the amount of bullying she's been going through just
Hmm.
because she's a VTuber, which is like it's an artistic representation. Just calm down. So it's been nice to see that these like other streamers are like helping, trying to say that this sort of behavior is not acceptable. Look, I'm a VTuber. It's not a big deal. Don't make a big deal out of it. But again, that's on like larger community-wide based. And again, I don't really know any of these people. Luckily, I I cater my social circles in that sense. So I don't get to experience it, but I hear about it, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see that there's some fighting back.
Mm, yep. What do you think makes a successful streamer in today's Twitch landscape?
It's that's a tricky question because it kind of means that you need to define what is success first. Um, because if you wanna talk big numbers, then it's learning algorithms, then it's knowing when to post, it's hitting off times where people come into Twitch and stuff like that, like playing that game. Um, but I consider myself fairly successful because I enjoy streaming and I'm having regulars who enjoy my streams, and that's success for me, and I'm fairly happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So yeah, I don't want to talk about the big number one. So if you want to be enjoying streaming, and if you want to have people who are regulars who enjoy your streams, um, it requires you to care about the people who come in and interact with them, talk to them, um, do do things for them. Like it's a community you have to build up. You need to support them. Um, if they stream, just hang out in their streams too. Just
Mm-hmm.
build up social circles and get to know people that you vibe with, and get a couple of friends. Like that would be what it takes to become successful in that aspect, at least.
Yep. Yep. All right. How do you balance streaming with your personal life and other responsibilities, Mr. Sparty Pants PhD?
Scheduling. Jesus Christ, scheduling.
Scheduling.
I have an 8 to 4 work, and I stream 3 times a week. And I very specifically stream with a day in between. So I stream Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sundays. And that's because Monday evening I'm cooking dinner for 2 days, so I can quickly eat a meal when I'm streaming on Tuesdays, and I don't have to think about that. So I try to also just make my life work. I've just been getting out of a period where when I wasn't streaming, I was actually working on some academic stuff too, and I was getting like kind of tired. I've sent that off now, so now I've been having a couple of like a week or two where things has been wonderful. I've been like getting into building up my little herbal garden because I have the time to do it. But yeah, balancing scheduling, Jesus Christ. It's just scheduling, and also sometimes saying no. Even though I don't want to, sometimes I have to
Mm-hmm.
say no to people asking me about things because I'll be like, I can't do that day. Yeah, I'll if any of my friends say like, "Oh, I'm gonna stream 12 hours 2 days in a row," I would call them insane. But I did it like a week ago, like a week or so back. But I spent the previous day planning and cooking, and after day one, I kind of did a check in with myself to be like, "How did the day go?" And I realized I craved sugar, so for day two, I bought like apple juice before I started, and I managed to like go through it, and it was easier. So if you're doing long term stuff, plan. If you're doing longer term, schedule. That's the only way I can get through this is by being a little having a little forethought.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Cat Baron says Rene has one of the healthiest regular schedules of any person I know.
Yeah, it's because otherwise it wouldn't work for me.
Mhm. All right, and then let's do one more question, then we'll open it up to the community for questions.
Hell yeah.
What are your long-term goals as streamer?
Become a partner. Very simple. It's I know it sounds stupid now that I just said, oh, just be happy with it, but honestly, it's one of those cases where it's a challenge, and I find completing challenges interesting. I'm a gamer after all.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how I can become a partner without compromising the things I've just talked about. So I'm trying to the best of my like trying not to get focused on numbers in that sense, but kind of building a very slow and then incorporating some of these tools to help building up a larger community. But yeah, so I'll that is long term goal. And when I get partner, I'm done. Then I've done all the things I want on Twitch, and then I'm just gonna stream. And then that's it. No more growth.
That's
Don't give a
it.
shit anymore.
It's kind of interesting because we'll see what Twitch does in the future. So I wonder
Yeah.
if partner will even be a thing in the future, considering some of the changes they're making.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, they gradiate the whole program now to partner and partner plus and stuff like that. So don't know. If they change the goalpost, then my goalpost will also be changed. It's just if you ask me what are my long-term goals, it's getting a little purple tick. And if
Yep.
they change the little purple tick, then that's the thing I'm interested in. Solely because it would be a challenge, and I can't back down. But yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then. Alright. This time I will open it up to the community. Anybody in Rene's chat? Any rats or any gatos? Wanna type a question in chat to the streamer? This is your guys' time to ask him a question. What do you want to know about your streamer? And I'll ask a silly question in the meantime. If you could have a superpower, what superpower would you have?
Um, I don't. Okay, I want to say teleportation, but I'm feeling hesitant to say why. It's just commuting is so boring. But even that being said, like I usually spend like travel time listening to podcasts or listening to music, and if I cut that out of my life, I would probably also be sad. But then again, teleporting would be great because I've gotten a bunch of like international friends because of this streaming, and if I could teleport to Spain and hang out with a friend and then teleport back, that would be great. Superpowers good.
Yep, superpowers. Cat Baron wants to know what kind of streams would you love to do if no time, money, or logistics concerns were an issue?
So there's actually some of us in the creator camp who's been talking to some of the IRL streamers, because the idea of having my avatar sit on the shoulder on one of the IRL streamers while they go for a walk in a park in Singapore, that would be so fun. Like I would love that. Other than that, cooking streams. I have a plan. Essentially, when I get partner, I'm saying when. I'm gonna take my old PC and turn it into a secondary streaming station in my kitchen, and I'll just like do cooking streams in there because I enjoy cooking. I don't know how much I'll incorporate my VTuber. I had years of doing face cam streams, so I don't really have an issue with that. But yeah, so cooking, like I'm a simple guy. I like cooking. I like going for a walk. I could make soup. I
You
could
do
utilize my
IRL,
soup powers.
IRL cooking, flesh tubing, as well as
Yep.
VTubing at the same time. Yeah, if it flies a fries. So, Rene does cam streams every once in a while.
Yeah, actually, there's another streamer, Big Nose Bug, who's doing cooking streams, but they are using a setup with half of the screen is their VTuber overlay, and then the kitchen desktop is IRL, and then they have gloves that matches their models um uh like skin tone. They're a mascot, so it's like a pink thing, and then they're doing cooking streams where they're trying to get their hands to match the hands of their VTuber models, and it's fun. Like it just looks fun. um but if I were to do that, I would probably try to do something similar, but I would mix cocktails because I do have experience with mixing cocktails, and I have like a full-on bar cabinet So doing that
Mm.
sort of thing in my VTuber would kind of be fun.
Yep. Yeah, onigiri is another one I can think of that does VTubing and then also has like a full up kitchen for cooking streams. And then does like a hybrid approach where you see her hands as a flesh tuber, but then you see her model as a VTuber. And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
blends
yeah.
very well. Okay. Alright. Any other questions? I'll do one more silly question while we wait to see if anybody types up any other question. If you could travel anywhere, paid time off or money is not a concern. Where
Mm.
would you go?
Uh, I would probably go to Gibraltar because I have a very good friend who lives there, and it's a weird place to get to. Um, and if I like if we're talking about like unlimited things,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably also book flights for a bunch of friends and then do a full on like a Rene convention where I would just like grab people and yank them somewhere specific, and we would hang out for like a week.
Mm,
Mm.
very nice. Very nice.
Ratcon, Ratcon, Ratcon,
Retcon, yeah.
Ratcon. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you have about the like stores question, but I remember somebody doing like a exclamation point command and a question long time ago.
Mm. Yeah, that I haven't seen that in other people's streams. I don't have that though.
Shit.
Uh, I'll have
Oh
to add
well.
that or think about that in the future. All
Mm.
right. Well, I think at this time, let's say bye to YouTube.
Bye
So
YouTube.
let's everybody same as process as before. If you guys type HIYT in chat, we'll say bye to YouTube, and this will be an official YouTube interview. It will be a video later, so I'm going to type my stream ending. Alright, so let me add a stream marker. This has been my interview with Rene. I'm going to link all of Rene's awesome socials below, so make sure you guys go follow them, go hang out with him. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.